The sun rises over an empty city and you're standing on a rooftop watching it. There's no one else. Not anywhere. Not in the buildings below. Not in the streets stretching out in every direction. You don't know when it happened exactly. Maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month. Time feels different now. The days blur together. You were at home when you first noticed it. Your neighbor Janet always had her TV on too loud at 6 in the morning. Talk show nonsense, screaming hosts, audience laughter. But that morning the building was quiet. Not peaceful. The kind of quiet that sits wrong in your chest. You went downstairs. Janet's place. The door was unlocked. Her TV was still on. Bright colors flashing across an empty room. The couch held her indentation. Her coffee was cold. You checked the hallway. Neighbors, friends, the guy who always microwaved fish at midnight. Everyone you knew, gone, not dead. Just gone like they'd been erased. First you thought it was a dream. You slapped yourself. It stung. You were awake. The city outside looked normal. Buildings, streets, cars parked along the curb. All the architecture still standing, but nobody was moving any of it. Nobody was driving. You went outside and the weight of it hit you. Fifth Avenue at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday should have been chaos. Thousands of people, honking, shouting. But there was nothing. Just wind pushing a newspaper, a plastic bag fluttering, a traffic light blinking red-green for nobody. The absence of people felt heavier than any crowd. The first week you spent looking. You drove around honking the horn, shouting at buildings. Hello, anyone, can you hear me? Your voice sounded small. You drove through neighborhoods, hospitals with empty beds, schools with children's drawings on walls, suburbs where houses had dinner on tables that nobody came home to eat. Nothing. No answer. Eventually you stopped shouting. Hoarse throat, mental exhaustion. The silence was actually better, less depressing. Shouting at nobody made you feel crazy. You found a grocery store and took what you needed. Canned goods, vegetables, meat before it went bad. You used a shopping cart because it felt normal. No one cared you didn't pay. You found a pharmacy, antibiotics, pain relievers, antidepressants. You found a library and took books. Hundreds. Philosophy, fiction, science, self-help books that suddenly felt pointless. You filled backpacks and stacked them in apartments because silence kills you slowly and books are how you fight silence. You move between buildings now, apartment to apartment, always checking, always listening. Sometimes you find signs of them. A meal gone to mold, a bed with covers thrown back like someone was pulled away mid-sleep, a bathroom with a half-used toothbrush, a child's room with toys. Close. They were so close, but not close enough to find you. You've created routines because humans need routines, structure, something to hold on to. Without routines, you just sit in the dark until your mind dissolved completely. You wake at 7 a.m. even though there's no reason to. No job, no meetings, no appointments. Nothing is waiting for you. But you set an alarm anyway. You shower. You use hot water and soap like you are still a person with somewhere to be. You eat. You choose foods you like instead of just calories. You sit at tables. You use plates and utensils. You clean up after yourself even though no one will ever see the mess. You spend time in the library reading. Right now you're reading everything about human psychology because you figure you should understand what's happening to your brain. What solitude does, what isolation does, what happens when you remove the human element from a human. Isolation, solitude, loneliness. Different words for different distances from other people. Loneliness means you want to be with someone and you can't. It's an active pain. Solitude means you chose to be alone. It's peaceful usually. Isolation is being alone against your will. It's a prison. You're isolated. That's the clinical term. That's what they call it in the psychology textbooks you're reading. The texts don't have answers though. They describe the problem but not the solution. Your brain hasn't stopped trying to create company though. You talk to yourself constantly now, not crazy talk. Real conversations. You ask yourself questions and answer them. You eat dinner and imagine someone across from you. You describe your day to the empty room like there's someone listening who cares. Sometimes you hold both sides of a conversation, changing your voice. Sometimes you laugh at your own jokes. Sometimes the jokes aren't funny, but you laugh anyway because the sound of laughter, even your own, is better than the sound of nothing. Better than the hum of the city running without purpose. Better than wind in empty streets. The theories you've come up with are endless and probably all wrong. Rapture. Some religious event you missed where everyone with faith was lifted away and you were left behind because you weren't good enough. Disease. A plague so efficient it killed everyone but you, sparing you for reasons you don't understand. Dimensional shift. A physics experiment that went wrong and everyone moved to somewhere else and you got stuck here. Alien abduction. At least that one would mean someone or something found you. Comet. A solar event. Spontaneous genetic collapse. You've gone through every scientific explanation and every religious one. You've debated them with yourself at 2 in the morning while lying in bed. You've convinced yourself of each one in turn and then dismantled them. You've decided it doesn't matter. The cause doesn't change the present. The present is you and it is empty. That's the only truth. You've never been religious. You were raised in a church you didn't believe in by parents who weren't sure they believed either. But you pray anyway, just in case. God might not exist, but he's all you've got. You stand on rooftops and pray to a God you don't believe in and ask for another person. Just one. Just someone to talk to who talks back. Something that isn't you. Something with a different voice and different thoughts and a different way of seeing the world. You ask every night. You wait for answers. The prayers don't work. You expected they wouldn't, but you do them anyway because even pointless rituals are something. They're evidence that you're still human, that you still have hope even when hope is objectively insane. A sane person would accept the reality and move on. You're not sane anymore. Maybe you never were. Sometimes you find photographs in the apartments and you try to guess the stories. A picture of a man and a woman at a wedding, both smiling, happy. That moment was real. Both of them existed and loved each other at least for one day, but that person is gone now. Another picture of kids, 3 of them in front of a Christmas tree, their faces caught in joy or maybe just the obligation of smiling for the camera. Where did they go? Did they feel it happening? What was the last thing they saw before they vanished? Did they know they were disappearing? Did it hurt? You take some of the photographs and arrange them on tables and shelves in your apartment like a collection, like you're curating a museum of the dead. You pretend they're keeping you company. They sit at your table while you eat. They watch from walls while you sleep. You know they're not real company, but real company doesn't exist anymore, so pretend is what you have. You get used to pretending. It starts to feel normal. You watch the old videos, news broadcasts from when people existed and had jobs and cared about things that mattered to them, movies, TV shows, anything with multiple voices and conversations, just to hear different voices, multiple voices. Conversations between people who don't know you exist and don't care. You're watching from an empty room in an empty building in an empty city. You've memorized scenes from movies. You can recite whole monologues. Sometimes you perform them with different voices, moving around the room, playing all the characters. Doing both sides of the conversation. It's pathetic, but pathetic is better than the alternative. Pathetic means you're still trying, still performing humanity even if it's just for an audience of one. The worst times are at night. Nights are impossibly long. You sleep maybe 4 hours and spend the rest of the time staring at ceilings or watching the darkness press against windows. 4 hours out of 16 is a lot of consciousness with nowhere to direct it. Your mind goes to dark places at night. It circles problems it can't solve. It replays conversations you had with people who are gone. It imagines scenarios that can't happen. You've thought about ending it many times. Not like a passing thought, like a serious plan. You have pills. You found enough in the pharmacy to do it. Opioids, sedatives, combinations that would make it painless. You keep them in a bottle under your pillow. Insurance, a way out if the silence gets too heavy. If the loneliness becomes something you can't carry anymore, you could wake up one morning and decide that day would be the last day. You could know in advance, take control, but you haven't done it because even though you're alone, there's something that keeps pushing you forward. Some engine inside you that won't shut off. Hope maybe, or just a biological drive to survive that doesn't care if surviving means being lonely forever. Doesn't care that surviving is a curse. You haven't used the pills yet, but they make you feel better somehow. Knowing you could, knowing that you have a choice. Having some control in a situation where nothing is under your control. Having an exit strategy makes the continuation bearable. That's something. That's enough. Today you're on the rooftop watching the sunrise and you're thinking about how beautiful it is. The colors don't care that there's no one to see them. The sky is still pink and orange and purple. The world is still turning. The earth is still alive, just not the people on it. You think about how the earth will keep going without you. Forests will grow, rivers will flow, animals will evolve. Maybe in 1,000 years, something will be here instead of humans. Something better or something worse. But it will be something. And humans, the only part of this planet that knew it was beautiful, will be forgotten. You sit on the edge of the roof and your feet dangle over the drop. The fall would be quick, but you're not here to jump. You're here to watch, to witness. To be the last eyes to see the city. That matters somehow. That has to matter. You wonder if there's someone else out there thinking the same thing. Watching a different sunrise, on a different rooftop, in a different city. Maybe. Probably not. You've covered enough ground to know the answer. You're alone, the last human alive. There's a documentary feel to that, something cosmic. You're not special. You're not chosen. You just happen to be the one left behind. Random. meaningless in the larger scheme, but to you, it's everything. You're the last, the final breath of humanity, the last person to remember what people were like. That's responsibility you didn't ask for, but now carry. The sun gets higher, the city wakes up to nothing, cars sit unused, buildings stand empty. Your rooftop is the highest point in this neighborhood, and from here you can see for miles. All of it empty, all of it waiting for you to move through it like a ghost. You climb down and get back to work, back to your routines, back to searching, even though you know what you'll find. Nothing. You go to the library and pull down another book. You make tea that you'll drink alone. You'll go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow and do it all again. Because that's what the last human alive does. You survive. You bear witness. You remember. And somewhere deep in whatever passes for your mind now, you hope that someone, somewhere is doing the same. Hoping to find you like you're hoping to find them. Two lonely people reaching across an impossible distance. Not meeting. Never meeting. But knowing somehow that you're not the only one who remembers what connection felt like.